You got
maybe.
to do Pig Latin.
Yeah. Afternoon, evening, good morning, everybody. We're here again. I'm here again with another hangout from Plus My Reach, and we're here with quite a few people this evening. The theme, inviting hangout event or hangout event attendees. How many is too many? And it's a question that came up for me a few months ago, where I was getting extremely frustrated because I got to a point where I could only invite 20, 15, 10, maybe 25 people to an event, and I wanted to invite more, and I kept having this trouble. And I actually thought the problem was resolved. I genuinely thought that nobody else had this problem except for me now. And then I bumped into Christelle. She had the same problem, and I've bumped into a couple of others that have had the same problem. And I thought we'd do a brief hangout to discuss it and hopefully help those that may be having the same problem. I'm joined this evening by Christine de Graaf from Circle Scope. Hi, Christine.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm sure pretty much everybody knows who you are. If they don't, if you could just do a quick intro for us.
My name is Christine DeGraff. I am a co-founder with Circuloscope, and it's a circle management tool to help you manage your circles on Google+.
Great. We need to discuss that as well, because one of the things that came out of a conversation I had with somebody today was a very specific action that you can perform in Circle Scope, which is perfect for what we're going to be talking about. We have Christelle as well. Hi, Christelle.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. So my name is Crystal. Artemis is my husband, so he and I have a page on Google Plus called Juicing for Fat Loss, and we do Hangouts. We were doing them weekly. We've switched to about bi-weekly, but this was very, very pertinent information for me because we got to a point to where it was taking a week and a half to invite everybody to our events. And yeah, Michael and I won't spoil it, but Michael and I had this conversation. I switched up a few things with the help of Circuloscope. Thank you, Christine. It took me like 15 minutes, and that was in the old version. Now it would take me less. And I could invite everybody all in one go.
That's fantastic. We also have Mia in the house. Hi, Mia.
Hello, dear. How are you?
I'm great. Yourself?
Good, thank you. What do you want to know?
Oh, I don't know. I would hope everybody already knows you. But by all means, introduce yourself.
I'll make it quick. My quick song and dance. I'm Mia Voss. I'm here in Denver. My phone is going off. Apparently, it's somebody calling me who says they know me. I have two shows. I have the Mia Connect Power Chat, and I also have the Food and Booze show that I co-host with Chef Dennis.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. And finally, last but not least, we have our very own Ronnie Binser. Hi, Ronnie.
Your very own. I'm glad to be your very own. I'm Ronnie Binser, known as the Hangout Helper down there somewhere, and I help people learn this wonderful magical communication tool called Hangouts and Hangouts on Air, and please join us in that thing behind me called the Hangout Mastery, the wonderful paid community where you get to interact and have fun with lots of other hanger-outers on airers.
Yeah. Well, my role here this evening is really, I'd like to see is really more of just a facilitator, because we have, Christine, Christelle, we've got yourself, Ronnie, and Mia. Between you guys, I'm pretty sure that we can provide some information to help people here, and hopefully get them away from taking a week to 2 weeks to create events. Could you, if you have a moment, Christelle, just talk about what happened, what the problem was, and then perhaps somebody else can jump in?
Yes, definitely. So we have, like I said, we have our page. This didn't seem to happen as much on my profile, by the way. I think this is handy info to know. I have much more flexibility in my profile, but when it came to a page, a business page, sending invitations was becoming really not fun.
A nightmare. A nightmare.
Yeah, a nightmare, exactly. So we, I mean, just to give you an idea of how fun it wasn't, we would invite, we limited our circles to 100 people per circle, and we would invite one circle per day, because that was usually the max. Now, some days we could get 2, some days we could get 3, some days, nothing. So, and there seemed to be no rhyme or reason to it. And so, you know, I was in a group with Michael, and he mentioned something about it, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm having this challenge. Isn't that just because, you know, it's one of the wonky Google things? And he said, well, actually, if you go in, and should I tell him, Michael, what we did? You want me to go ahead?
No, please, feel free, yeah.
All right. So he said, well, if you just go in and check everyone in your circles and see who's following you and who's not, you will be able to invite everyone who is following you. And the challenge comes when people aren't following you. So we had, like, the very first circle we created, we didn't have a lot of people who were following us because we were kind of engaging and interacting with people to build an audience. But, you know, the way he told me, he's like, yeah, you can go in and look at every person manually in your circle management. And I'm listening to him going, okay, thank God I have Circloscope, because I know I can go in here and get this, like, I can just punch a few buttons and it'll be done. Because what you were telling me, Michael, was like, oh my God, that's going to take forever. I mean, we had, like, you know, we don't have a huge page, but we had like 1,000 people, and just the thought of going and clicking on every person for that, no, I'd rather shoot somebody, not myself. Anyway, so so we just went into Circloscope, and I just did a quick little filter at the time to see who was not following me, and I moved them all to their own circle, and then I invited everyone who was following us, and all the invitations went through. And then the people who aren't following us, actually I ended up deleting most of them from our circles, just because, you know, if they don't want to receive my stuff, I don't want to give them stuff they don't want. So as people follow us, we just keep adding them to our circles, and voila, that solved the whole thing. And not only can I invite them all in the same day, but I can invite everyone all at once, all at the same time, since they're following me.
Oh, spectacular. I know my suggestion was based on something I've done, where I've actually gone to a circle, found the followers, and then I create another circle. For example, it might be, you know, Flugelbinder manufacturers, and then I'll have another circle that says Flugelbinder manufacturers, followers. But sometimes I still get a problem inviting those, and the reason why is because the ones that I put in following, some of them are no longer following me. And I know there's an algorithm behind this, so there's a percentage that you can invite who are not following you, but who knows what the percentage is. I mean, I'm interested in how Circloscope does this, because it seems to have saved you a heap of time.
Huge, a huge heap of time. So I'm sure Christine can tell you way more about that than I can.
Well, yes,
Please.
definitely Circloscope can show you, you know, in one click actually who is not following you, and then you can, you know, remove them from your circle. So before you do an invite to an event, you can easily remove the people who are not following. It also, one of the new features just launched yesterday, is the ability to circle everyone who attends your event. So if, you know, everyone who attends your event, you could just, with one click, put them all in a circle, and then that's someone that you can invite the next week. And I know a lot of the HOA hosts are very excited about that. Mia and everybody, Christelle, I know Ronnie is. And, you know, it's going to, I think that what's going to happen is it's going to help reduce a lot of the unwanted event invitations that we're all starting to get. You know, and I think, because I know that most of the hosts, you know, really, they only want to invite people who are interested, and they don't want to be, you know, seen as spammy. So one of the things that we can do with the new version is you can also find out everyone who said no to your event, and then you can either remove them, or some people have suggested, you know, send them a private message and ask them if they would like to continue to be invited. You know, but I think it's going to give a lot more options.
So, Michael, let me jump in here for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Mia's telling me no. I like it, Mia.
In capital letters, by the way. No.
Yes. Okay, so let me throw something out as a trainer. There's a big difference between a page and a profile when you're running an event, and just technologically, there's a difference between a page and a profile in Google Plus, and this is where a lot of this difficulty comes from. And I am not saying this as an official Google person. I'm just saying it as someone who knows it pretty well. And in other words, there's my legal disclaimer. I'm not violating any non-disclosures, blah blah blah. So here we go. A profile is a person. And as a person, therefore, it's given more value by Google from what I can see, because when you do something as a page, it's easier for you to hide behind the page. You can be a spammer a lot easier if you are a page than if you're a person. And so because of that, I believe there are more filters in place to limit what a page can do directly, especially when it's new, because you can set up a page just like that and start spamming if you wanted to. So I believe a lot of the limitations we see that are harder to do stuff as a page are based on the fact that Google wants to let the page prove itself. So once it's proven itself and it's more legit, then I believe it's given more authority, literally. And so because of that, you may find that some of the things we're talking about are not going to be problems for you as a person or as a profile, but when you try to create things as a page, they are. So with that said, there's other difficulties when you tie this into Hangouts, because we're talking about events and Hangouts and how they work together. If you are running a Hangout in there as a page, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get the people into this thing on the bottom, or sorry, you don't have it right, into the film strip. It's harder to get guests in when you're running something as a page, but the same trick that you're talking about that works well is as long as you're mutually circled, meaning the page circles the guest, and the guest the guest circles the page back. You are mutually circled. Then there's a better chance that they're going to be able to come in as a guest during the first invite, believe it or not. So that concept of circling and circling back, even though many times we say you don't have to do that on Google+, I think you do if you want to run things as a page.
Well, I know when I had the problem originally, and I actually tried to find the original post, and I think it was back in July last year when this started, or June. I eventually worked out from a response that I received from Google Help, yes, there is an algorithm, but would they tell me what the algorithm was? No. But I'm a coder, so I decided to work at it, and I found out, and exactly what you've said there with regards to the page. One of the things we do, and this could be frustrating for somebody first starting to run Hangouts as a page, because there are certain technical things that you have to do, and I know Ronnie can help with that. I don't want to get into how to run a Hangout as a page. For example, if you want to run the comment tracker, there's a particular method that you have to go through to get the comment tracker running, I believe. Is that still something that you have to do, Ronnie?
Yes. Meaning you go through a few little hoops just to make sure the page can have access to the proper tools. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do with Plus My Reach is we circle everybody that's engaged. We then pass that circle to a profile and then invite people using the profile. More often than not, with this particular circle, we could actually send it out from the page now, but back 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when we first started, it was virtually impossible. So I had to not run the Hangouts under the profile, but I had to send the invites under my profile.
I've even seen it when a page sees an event and wants to come, and they say that yes, they're coming, and they're told no, you can't come until someone actually invites the page. So
yeah, you do not have access to this event. I've seen that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's changed, but if you are ever running an event and a page tries to get access by saying yes, I'd like to go, if they never tell you that they were rejected, it's going to be hard for you to know.
Yeah. What about yourself, Mia? How have you found it when you're running Hangouts as a profile or as a page?
I haven't had any problems with that of inviting people. I've crossed my fingers, knock on something, when I was running it, and that's running it as a person. as my own profile. When I was running it as a page, and remember Ronnie ended up helping me kind of switching that over, that was more of a branding thing for me. Just was better to be under the Mia Voss and the Mia Connect. It definitely, I never had problems inviting people, but just the running of a page, it just certainly is, it's very different for sure, but I've never gotten any problems, but I am so excited to see this. This is my circloscope excitement. Ugh. I mean, it's so up my alley. Christine had a presentation for our HOA host group the other day, and it was pretty cool. So well done, sweetie.
Thank you.
Yeah. It really is a lot of things that we've all been like, I really wish, and then fill in the blank, right? So.
Hey, Michael, you had a question up there that was brought up by Lee. Can you bring that back up again? I didn't load comment tracker. Okay.
Yeah, Lee Rickler is just saying, so what you're saying, Ronnie, is if, for example, I wanted to be a guest on this show, I would need to circle and get circled by the event itself before I could then be invited in as a guest.
Not exactly. You need to be circled and get circled by the page account that is running the event.
Yeah. We've found that with
Yes.
Plus Marriage because it's a reasonably new page.
Yeah, and whether it's new page or old page, this still is the same. You've got to be mutually circled in order to allow the host to invite you into the Hangout on Air easily. It doesn't mean there's not other ways. We've got other ways, but the normal method.
Can I ask that on the other ways note? Would that be that you just send them the Where Am I link or the link at the top, and they can get in, they can get around it that way, correct?
Yep. Yes, you can always send people or a page a link to the Hangout on Air inside, and they can get in if they click on that link. Yes.
Okay.
There's an interesting comment as well from Susan Finch. It says, circling is different than following. If you really want to include a page, be sure to do both. I don't quite follow that. Could you help us out, Ronnie? Or Christine, anybody?
Well, I got something I can say about it. I don't know if it's accurate anymore, but in the past, because this stuff changes like every day. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a default setting when you go to a page, you will see the word following with a checkbox, and then a line, and then all the other circles you might be adding them into potentially. And the following circle in the past, early days of Google Plus, was treated differently because you had your own option to do certain things differently with the following circle than you did other kinds of circles. And I believe they've taken that away. And so as a result, I don't believe the following named circle following is that much of a detriment as it used to be in the past. But I am not positive on that. So in other words, don't add them to the circle called following if you can. I used to tell people specifically, make sure if you're going to be a guest on a Hangout on Air hosted by a page, you circle the page, but don't add them to your circle called following. Now I don't tell them that as much anymore.
I don't even get that circle. I really don't. I don't even think have I got anyone in it? I'd have to check. Christine, just a quick question for you, because I had a look at the new version of CircleScope today, and I'm impressed. I really like it.
Thank you.
Are there any other tools? I mean, for example, the ability to be able to circle guests that attended an event, those that didn't attend, or remove them. Are there any other tools available that are specific to events that might be of use to people?
Right now in CircleScope, it's just for the events. It's whether you can circle everyone who commented, everyone who RSVP'd yes, maybe no, or did not reply. And then, the way that I'm using it, I am building a circle for each event with everyone who said yes. And then, from week to week, if people stop coming, I'm removing them from my invite list, and I'm probably going to send them a private circle message and ask them if they would like to continue being invited.
That's an interesting method, because I think we have one circle for Plus My Reach, and I have other circles for other things. I personally tend to categorize my circles based on what that individual does, or what I think they do. if I have to look at their about page. What methods do others use? Because I know a lot of people do this where they have a specific circle per show.
Go ahead,
do, yeah.
Mia.
Same thing. I have a specific circle per show, but what I was doing was using that as people who commented, because that to me is my true sign of engagement. And that's how I come up with my bat crap crazy. But now this will be great too, because in the beginning I was going through and I'm just getting hives thinking about like doing the hover and then waiting for it to pop up and then adding in the circle. Like, I'm so excited to not.
Yeah, one click instead of one by one. And Mia, after the show, remind me, I have your link. So.
Okay, cool. And you know what? Actually, I have a membership. I have one from before, so I've been doing it, girlfriend.
Oh, well, good. Okay.
You're proud of me. I forgot to tell you to be proud of me.
I have Ronnie's link, too.
Yeah, so one of the special things about the Circuloscope tool is the ability to see who said no.
Yes.
That is huge for those of us that care, because we want to know when someone said no, we can then reach out to them privately and say, hey, does it just not fit on your schedule, or do you just not want to be invited anymore to these kind of things? And then we can respect their wishes.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise, we had no way to know how many or who said no to the invite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same category as Christine with this and what she said earlier. I don't think there's anything more frustrating than having an event, inviting people, and then sending a message and thinking, I wonder if it's only going to those people that engaged. I mean, we track the engagers specifically with Plus My Reach, but the ability to be able to know with certainty that you are communicating with people who engaged with the event, the Hangout, and not the ones that didn't, is phenomenal for me. It's like I was saying in the previous Hangout, what we do is we run an event, a report a week after the event, and we actually find a lot of people watch the show afterwards. They watch the replay, and we capture the engagers, which is great. So we're only communicating with those people who are interested. It's possible that some people watch the Hangout 2 weeks later or even a month later. I know I do occasionally. But
and you can always go back and update. But you know, I do include the yeses, not just the commenters, because a lot of people do just want to watch and they don't necessarily want to, you know.
That's what's great for me now, Christine, because I stopped including the yeses because it took me so long and I was just doing commenters. So sorry to jump in on that, but that's the great thing I can do now so easily. I was not able to do that. So, you know, and I think you're right. I think it's going to be kind of a new world order of these events are going to be truly, they're going to be watched by people who are truly engaged, as opposed to us blindly kind of throwing it out of that maybe or sorta, and people being disgruntled, especially people who don't understand how events work, and they're like, why is this person
yeah, I mean, imagine, you know, if you do a show every week and you have someone who says no every week and you continue to invite them, think about how annoying that's going to get after a while. You know, they're going to need to.
They may not tell you. Yeah, there's people that are just like, I wish he'd stop inviting me, but you don't know that. So.
Yeah, well, I actually had an email from somebody.
Yeah, I was going to say, until they leave the comment on your stream that says, why am I getting your invites? Like, well, because at some point you participated, but now that we can see who consistently knows, like Ronnie said earlier, we can actually, that's awesome.
Oh, and then
sorry, what did you say, Christine?
I was going to say, it's a good point, though, to bring up that this doesn't take the human element out of it, because you're going to circle everyone who comments, but if somebody commented and says, don't include me in your dumb circle anymore, you know, don't invite me to your event, you need to remove them from, you know, your circle.
Right. Well, and then that's what's tough, too, you guys, is sometimes somebody, it's somebody that you didn't, if your event has the ability for other people to invite, like we leave it open because we ask our guests to say, please invite your favorite people. They may have invited someone you have no idea, and they're all disgruntled, but then again, you can find it just, you know, if they say no or you remove them from the event, but especially if they say no, then that goes into your little cache of no's, and you won't, you know, at least you won't be inviting them again.
So since I have a nose, let's talk about that for a second here. This was just a quick, easy transition. We were talking about the idea of how many is a good number, or how many should you be inviting to your events. I do want to bring up the point that I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that once you've set up an event and you've invited a boatload of people to it on one day, it's not wise to try to then set up another event the very same day and try to invite a bunch more people. I do believe that even as a profile or a page, you are not going to be able to continue to invite people all in a, I'm guessing, 24-hour period of time. So
Yeah.
if you know that you've got a bunch of series of things, it's a good idea to try to space it out so that you can invite for one event and then wait 24 hours before you set up another event invitation. Even with all these other wonderful methods we're telling you, I believe there's still limitations out there.
Well, that's pretty much what I did for these two events that we've run today, because we had two back-to-back. The first one, for Plus My Reach for reporting, I think I may have invited maybe 500 people, or 300 or 400 people. And the second event, this event, I didn't actually invite anyone to start with for about 3-4 days. And when I'd finished with my invites for the first event, left it for a day, and then came here to this event and invited people to this event. That was probably a conscious thing on my part, Ronnie, because I have experience of getting that red message that says, you know, unable to send invitations. It was just, I can see from the end user's point of view how frustrating that is, because there's no explanation. It just says unable to send invitations.
I can tell you another thing that's frustrating from an end user's point of view. My daughter was using Google Plus. I had her on here, and she just suddenly stopped. And I asked her why, and she says, because every day when I log in, there's 99 messages, and most of them are invitations to events and communities. And she says, and I just don't. She says, I just want to see who's engaging with me on my page. You know, it is a shame that there isn't an opt-out, you know, or an opt-in option, which we all know would make things easier. But I know for myself, I mean, I get dozens a day, and most of them, it's because I continue to say yes, because I'm supporting other hosts and trying to go to these shows, and I am interested in many of them. You know, but I do think that at some point it's going to get to be too much for people, and they're really going to start to really get upset with people for these, you know, if each one of us is inviting them to 1 or 2 shows a week and there's hundreds of people doing it, after a while it's going to get just way too much.
And that, you know what I would love too, can I jump in on that? If we're going to do a wish list, is the and you may have, this may be what you're saying, is also the opt-out for receiving notification or getting any kind of ping for the comments, because some of our events we have a ton of people commenting, and if you say yes, it just, oh my gosh, it's a flood. So I worry about a little backlash on that.
As a technique, I believe you can mute the comments from an event post, and that then basically, if there's just too many comments and you don't want them, you can mute it.
Okay. Yeah, from an event post, but not from, and we can talk about this offline, or you can tell us now. I did not know that, so that's great if there's a possibility to tell people that, because I haven't seen that, so that's good.
I'm just thinking
I think
about what would actually be quite nice, and this may already be available, I don't know. When you click the notifications, you can actually open that in a new tab and then just click mentions of you. Maybe more categories there, something like that. Don't know.
Let me ask.
99 plus.
Let me throw in a request or a question. Actually, it's more of a question. Initially, your title of the event, Michael, made me think, I wonder if there's a number. If I can invite 1,000 people, for example, to an event, is that wise? If I see that maybe only 200-300 decide yes, they're coming, is it wise to keep inviting the 1,000? And I'd like to open up that for discussion. And the reason why I say 1,000, I've already gathered circles of people that have been interested in what I've done, and so that's why I invite them. It's not I just going out inviting a random number. But that doesn't mean everybody's interested in every show I do at all times. And so percentage-wise, I don't know if this is helpful or hurting when we have a bigger number of people that did not respond, because in essence they wouldn't have the opportunity to respond had they not been invited, potentially.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually. I mean, I know some hosts like yourself, Ronnie. The majority, if not all, of your Hangouts are about Hangouts. So if somebody wants to learn about Hangouts, they can come to you. Other hosts have mixed shows where one week it could be, you know, about cars, and another week it could be about, I don't know, food, you know, and
Or
trying to
food in cars.
or food in cars, even, yeah,
That's like me. Like
drive-through food in cars.
I've got TNT Boot Camp with Ronnie, which is about influencers and influencers marketing, and then I've got a music hangout, and these two have just nothing to do with each other. So I
Yeah.
definitely keep them separated, and I think that it's important to try to narrow these down, and that was one of the things with the event with Ronnie. My circle of invites was huge. It was over 1,000, and I wanted to find out, are these people still coming, or did they just say yes once? Because I had a circle from the first 5 or 6 shows we did that everyone who said yes I put in there, and it was over 1,000. And then I started doing show by show, and I had 5 more circles for the past 5 shows. And I found out just on a show yesterday with Ronnie and Mia, a training, that about 400 of the people in that circle of 1,000 hadn't attended in the past 5 shows, which was in the past 10 weeks. So we have to assume that I'm just sending them invites and they're not interested.
Yeah, well, one of my biggest frustrations as well, I think last June, July, and is a bad comparison, but on the Book of Faces, I could actually invite every single person that was following me, every single one. Clearly, it took me time because I had click, 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 but there's a method. And I was so frustrated that I couldn't do the same thing on Google. But I'm really glad I wasn't able to. And the main reason I'm really glad that I wasn't able to is because a little while later I discovered that that would be really, really spammy. And I'd be inviting people who simply wouldn't be interested. And categorizing your circles is something that works for me. I know, for example, if we're running a show on Hangouts, I'll probably not invite a whole bunch of circles if we're doing a show on something else. And it's just, it comes back to what you were saying, Christine. You've got the 2 shows there that are completely different. They appeal to 2 completely different audiences.
So back to the question.
Go ahead.
Back to the question, does anyone in here think it's unwise? For example, if let's say 1,000 people are interested in Hangout stuff, and I do training on how to do Hangouts. If I invite all 1,000 of them, but only 300 say yes, and I'm not disparaging 300, that's a great number, okay? But if that many say yes, there's 700 that basically didn't come. Do you guys think it's wise to stop inviting all 1,000 or just keep going?
I think you should keep inviting them, but I think you should use Circloscope to see who hasn't attended. If they haven't attended your events in 6 months, then okay, yeah, stop inviting those people.
Mm-hmm.
But because we have we have 1,000 on our page, and I invite everyone because it's a very specific topic page, and what you're doing, Ronnie, is also very specific. So I would continue to invite them.
And I think you just choose your number. Christine and I would talk about this with the Christine and Mia show. We've been doing that for a while, of keeping those lists of people who have consistently attended, and now I can spend more time really nailing that down, which is fantastic. But you can say yes, okay, after 5 weeks, it's not just that you're on vacation or something like that. It's that you're not interested. And I understand I love that too. If you can come to them and say, hey, are you still in it too? But can I go back to the mute thing again real quick, just to make sure I'm clear on this? When you're saying mute, because I want to make sure I'm not missing something, you're talking about when you create the event and that creates that post initially, correct?
Yes, it creates a post in the stream, and then you can
good.
go.
I was like, that I knew, but not actually on
not
the
on
event.
the event page itself.
I think I'm just so sensitive to it because there are people like, oh, you hit the 500. I'm like, yeah, and I probably ticked off about 50 people who are like, shut up. Please shut up. Like all you people. So So the Google gods, please pay attention.
Curiously, we've got a question or a comment here from Ted Wasco. Perhaps it would be good. This is something I was thinking of. Perhaps it would be good if there was a button that they could click to remove themselves from that invite. You know, maybe Christine invites me to a music event that I'm not particularly fond of, but I still want to be invited to the, TNT boot camp. And I'd love to be able to click a button or send a quick message without having to type out a long message saying, sorry, Christine, not interested in this, but please keep me circled for other things. And the only thing
Now
I
you
can
can
think
hit
of
no.
right now is to mute that person, and I don't want to do that. Sorry?
I was just saying, well, that's called no.
That's what the no button is for. Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I'm going to be using the no feature now. Is I'm going to,
That's right.
I'm actually, I think I might even encourage on, when I share it publicly, if you do not want to be invited, click no, and I will remove you from my invite list. I mean, maybe that's...
I just thought about that the other day too, Christine. I'm so going to do that as well. Just put it out there. Like, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you say no,
Let's back up for a second. When you first start with these things, you don't have hundreds or thousands of people. Sometimes you're inviting 20 or 50. And that's a good way to start because you know they're interested. And normally when you have a small number like that, and I don't know what the cutoff is, so don't ask, okay? But normally when you have a small number, it gives you what's called messaging. You have the ability to message specifically to those that said yes, those that said no, those that said maybe, and those have not responded. All 4 categories. You can send within the events function, a tool allows you to send a message to each one of them. And I used to, for those that said no, I used to say, please let me know if you want to be removed from the invite list because I don't want to bother you. If this is just because you can't make this time, you might consider saying maybe next time and sort of helping educate the process. But that messaging function's gone once you get up above a certain number. When it's a smaller number, it lets you message. When you get up above a certain number, then it goes away. And this is
wondering where that went.
It's not a bug, it's just the way it is. So I've noticed when I invite, because when I start my invite, I'll start with public and any communities at the very first posting, and messaging is still there. And then I'll invite my first circle of 100 people, and messaging is still there. But then at some point, when I've invited more, the messaging part just disappears. So when you're first starting with this, you have almost more tools at your disposal than when you start inviting more and more people. And I even thought, I like to push the buttons. I think, as Michael says, the buttons. I like to push the buttons.
Sorry, the buttons.
Oh, thank you. I was going to do this, and maybe I will. I don't know.
That was mock.
Just asking people, what is the number for you when the messaging goes away? It's very technical, but we might be able to determine and then say, okay, how many people are following you and see if it's related. But it just gets so techie and nerdy real fast. I basically let it go.
I'm going to make a quick comment, and shout out Kristen Drysdale. She's so sweet. She makes a point of, can we all agree that it's kinder to send someone a private message to ask to be removed from a notification circle versus asking someone right on the event stream? And it's usually not asking, it's super grumpy. I've definitely seen some super grumpy, so I agree with you, Kristen. Thanks for that point.
No, I got an email myself from one person, and I wasn't upset by receiving the email. I was more upset with myself for constantly inviting this person without realizing that they didn't want to be, part of the event.
It's just so hard to realize, I mean, when you're doing email marketing, there's opt out for a reason, and they opt out, and your list automatically never emails them again, and that's a good thing. And I think that's something that Google is definitely lacking here. We definitely could use an opt-out system. So, we have to kind of make our own, and now that we know who said no, I think that's a really good place to start.
Yeah. Crystal, you said you've got a question.
I have another question. This is, vaguely related to what we were talking about. Ronnie was talking about inviting communities before. And I noticed this is from my page now, I haven't done this with my profile, but from my page, I used to invite communities first, and then send that invite out, and then, on a second wave of invites, invite all my circles. It seems I can no longer invite communities through my page unless I'm a moderator, because I keep getting a message back that says, like, that's beyond your quota. You've reached your limit, right? So, Ronnie or anybody have any ideas about that?
I have a clarifying question. When you're saying you're inviting the communities first, is it during the very initial posting of the event, or is it after you've posted the event?
The very initial posting, the very first one.
Okay. Then I know as a profile, I am not having problems inviting communities during the initial posting, but I am only, honestly, inviting those communities that I am either a manager, or I'm sorry, is it moderator or a manager? Moderator or an owner. I don't believe I'm inviting communities that I'm not one of those two status, so I don't know.
I think that's really wise anyway. I mean,
Yeah, I can tell you from experience on the My Music Hangout community, another music hangout invited my community to their event, and I was pretty angry about it. I felt like it was a little stepping the line to send invites to my community when they had their own community. And, if they would have asked me, I probably would have said sure, but, I felt like it was, trying to... Yes.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying for sure. And just to clarify, so I don't sound like a big spammy person, I was inviting communities that had like big general, like the health and wellness community, where people post all kinds of things about, all kinds of health-related topics. So it was actually appropriate. Well, right. In my mind. I mean, who knows what appropriate is, right? It's what we make up. Anyway, yeah. So I wasn't like inviting someone else's personal group of. Yeah, thanks though for bringing that up.
But that might be a test to try. I believe probably you may have run up against the number, this magic number that we don't know it is, to be able to invite as a page that has a certain amount of authority.
And also, it sounds like that community probably has a lot of people in it, so maybe it was just like too big to invite.
The only fun part about this is I could invite them before. Like one day I could invite them and one day not. And there are multiple communities. So, but like I said, they're not my own communities, so it's not that huge of a loss. But I did notice that when I posted, some people would come to the Hangouts, and there were people who seemed to appreciate it. And I just, I did it very discreetly. And anyway, if anybody knows anything else about it, cool, let me know.
Okay, guys, I think it's about time to wrap up, but I just want to grab a few final words off each of you, and thank you for coming along. It's been a great pleasure having you here, because I don't think I could have really gone into this much detail on my own. Any final words, Ronnie?
Enjoy the tools. Hopefully you can figure out how to make them work. If the tools are your friends, then you can let the technology disappear, and that's one of the things we try to do at the Hangout Mastery. And a lot of the stuff tying with events is really very closely related to Hangouts. So that's why I do know what I do know about it. And I will tell you one thing, Google is very protective about the information about events. It is a very powerful tool, and because of that, they are very, very close-lipped when it comes to trying to get any information. So that's why you'll see many of us guessing and giving our best perspectives as to what we've seen happen, but we can't give necessarily exact numbers as to when you can and can't do things.
Yeah, and Mia Voss tiene hambre, so I think she'll have to say a few words before she goes.
I don't know what you said, but it sounded good. I love it that you have that accent and then you're speaking in Spanish. That's just crazy. Or at least it sounded like it. You know what? I did just wish I could have drank for as many times as we said tool during the show. But did you notice I kept it down to a dull roar? So I'm excited about Christine's tool. How about that? I'll say something soft.
Yeah, cool. Hey, Christelle, thanks very much for coming along. I'm super pleased. You found the solution to the problem, and have you got any parting words for the audience?
Well, first, Michael, thank you for your help. That was an awesome score for me. And then, Christine, thank you for all your awesome work on Circuloscope, because that made the solution way, way easier.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I'm just having so much fun. This is so fun being on a Hangout with Ronnie and Mia and Christine and Michael. This is great.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks, Christine.
Well, everyone should go get Circloscope. There is a free version. It is fully functional. The only difference between the free and the paid version is the paid version, you can manage pages in addition to your profile. And with the free version, you will have to add and remove one by one. So it's a little more time consuming, but you can easily see who's who's not following you. And there's a lot of uses for it. I definitely think everybody should at least give it a try.
Yeah, by all means, when we've finished, Christine, put a link. I'm sure people can find it easily, but please put a link in the,
Thank you.
in the event page. Okay, guys, thanks very much, and well, we'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye-bye.
Yay.
Thank you.